I think it can change. I think it can change through the horses too, depending on what kind of horses you got, stuff like that. Sometimes it can be in the gate, sometimes it can be, like if you're coming off the pace or in the lead. I think that might be depend the races and the horses you got. What's
Yeah,
part
because
of what? Yeah,
I've seen you back sometimes really far, and you know if
yeah.
you push that button, they're going to go, and
You
maybe
got
you're nervous if you push
you're
that
nervous,
button, they're
yeah.
not going to go.
They're gonna go, yeah, exactly. Or if you push the button a little too early and you get to then too early, now your horse gets tired, stuff like that. It's a big trust. Even if you're in the lead, you gotta trust the horse. Get that full feeling that he's breathing well. Even if he's going fast, he's breathing well. He's calm, and at the same time, when you like behind, getting there in the face, stuff like you gotta still feel the same. He's taking the dirt well in the face. He's calm, and like when you're, to do and decide, where we're gonna go. And like Hugo said, these horses they get one opportunity to do this, and having a horse that got, the ability like him. So why not go over there and, hopefully we're a little luck.
Yeah, I mean, awesome too because he's a Pennsylvania bred.
Yeah, that makes it even better.
Yeah, Tom Coulter and Hugo Padilla, they've been teaming up for some nice wins. Look, 2025 was a huge year for you, and you're already kicking off 2026 with a bang. Do you keep track of your numbers? Like, this is your stats right now. I looked it up as of today. You were 237 horses. We're only in late March with 59 wins and 1.85 millions in earnings. This is just for this year. Do you keep track of that, or do you just kind of worry about day by day?
Yeah, I'll just go day by day, and we kind of set up like some goals, like at the end of the year, through going through the beginning of the year, and the goals are kind of set already. So you kind of like forget about it and just work now day by day and keep your best and try to win the most. And by the end, I think once you go up to like September, maybe November, like early November, you kind of like start looking a little bit like your goal, and then you're like,
Yeah,
oh, we're there, we're getting close, we're gonna make some. Yeah,
you accomplished some of those goals.
yeah, yeah. I think this year one of the goals is hopefully win more great stakes, and hopefully if we can make it to the Derby, stuff like that, big races.
Mhm.
And I'm getting close to 2,000 wins, so I think that's my priority, make it to 2,000 this year.
Yeah.
Mychel, you were awarded the top jockey at the awards banquet this past year. What does it take? Talk about your team a little bit. What's it take to be a top competitor like that to win those top honors?
A lot, not only, like my background where I go, like I go to the gym in the morning. Sometimes I'll be in the gym like 5 in the morning, before training. Then we come here, start breezing horses, stuff like that. Now we go back to the room, prepare for the races. If you gotta do a little bit more like sauna, stuff like that. Like there's a lot of stuff like goes before races. And then even during the races, there's a lot of little stuff that can happen during the race. Although the race might seem like a minute, 2 minutes for us, it's a lot longer. We're going super fast and everything, but it can feel like a longer time.
It
Everything kind of,
slows down.
yeah, everything slows down. And then there's so many like little stuff that happen that I don't even think the camera can see all of that. Like, and it changed the rhythm of the races and stuff like that, everything. You go from warming up the horse to braking and setting up the pace, and when can you move and no move, who's ahead of you or behind. There's so many lot of stuff. And now other is my agent does a great work, communications with the owners and training and preparing, what races, what's ahead of us, the schedules and stuff like that. It's a big team.
Yeah, I mean, your agent Scotty Silver, he's been doing this a long time, and he's just one of those likable guys. I always
Yeah.
enjoy talking with him. You guys are a great team. A lot of people they don't know like the day in day out. So how do you guys pick your mounts? How do you go? I know at Red Zone Runner, you breezed him and you called Scotty right away and was like, keep me on this horse. But how do you go getting your mounts, you and Scotty?
Yeah, like you say, he's been doing this for a long time, and he definitely knows what he's doing. So when you got a guy like that, and when he has a guy like me, all we do pretty much is trust each other,
Yep.
and get in communication with the trainers and owners, and they try to hire us. And day by day, when you ride horses, you can always tell. As soon as you ride one, you like, dude, that's Sky. I think this is gonna be a promising horse that we want to stay on. And other than after that, he goes and talks to all the trainers and owners and communicate, and he set up like the schedule, and then he let me know everything and stuff like that. I always let him do his job, and he let me do mine, and we got a great communication and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But
he
trusting, yeah,
has those.
trusting each other.
Yeah, he has those relationships in yours yourself. How do you keep track of your schedule? Because you mainly ride at Parks, you ride at Laurel, but you're filtered at New York, Colonial. How do you keep track of your schedule? Like for me, I use my like Apple Calendar. I live on that. I wake up, I know, what we're doing that day, for me and
Yeah.
my husband's horses and then my job. But how do you keep on schedule?
Well, races. I have my horse race now where it tells you the mount when the entries come out. But before that, if I gotta go somewhere else where I haven't gone a little while, Scott always kind of tells me like a week before, we're gonna go to New York this week, this day, and the horses that I gotta work in the morning every day we stay in contact, and he around like 5 p.m. he tells me what horses I'm gonna work the next day, what time for which trainer, stuff like that daily. We get in contact daily, and we set up our program where we're gonna ride like through the whole week. So he tells me you're gonna be in Parks, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then you'll be in Laurel the rest of the week. But if he sees something that's gonna change, he let me know with time, stuff like that. So we got a good communication.
You can adjust.
Great.
Yeah,
Mychel, let's get back to the Red Zone runner. In the City of Brotherly Love Stakes, you went right to the lead, and he seemed very confident that you could push his buttons at any time. It's also a sloppy track, won by 15 and a half lengths, 85 Beyer. He could be anything, especially with no real standout in this year's 3-year-old crop.
exactly. Yeah, I think right now it's a wide open competition, so that leave a lot of space to a lot of horses. And like I told Hugo, you know, we didn't really know what to expect out of the race. I didn't know if I was gonna be in the lead or not. There's another horse with a little bit of speed, so being outside post kind of give us a little bit of an edge to either go or sit. But he broke so well. I kind of helping out a little bit, and I felt like I was going fast time, but as soon as I got back, I told Hugo, he was doing it so easy, so I kind of just threw out of his way, let him go. He was so confident. He gave me such a good bite from early since he broke out of the gate. His ear were nice, and you know, really connect to the horse right away, and he played a big and running that big and that track like that, and then tuning for home. I mean, as soon as I barely asking a little bit, he took off so strong that after that, I didn't have to do anything. Just put my hands down and let him do his thing. He did a nice gallop out, and he come back out of the race like he didn't do, you know, he do it without effort. He come back nice, and he wasn't tired. The next day, he ate everything, all of that. So he come out of the race really nice.
Yeah, you really do get a strong connection with your horses. Do you prepare differently for a big race than a smaller race, or do you just take them all? Do you have any different strategy?
I think the strider is gonna change on maybe who you rise again, and see how the fields are, if they're big, small, and you always
Yep.
try to pick and choose a few horses. Not that you're gonna like ride and stuff like that, but see what they do and they don't do, and as well your horse. And as soon as the gate, go into the gate, you got your game plan, and you try to go for the game plan that you like the most. But you always gotta be ready and prepare for everything that can happen or not happen, and something that so for example, if you got speed and the horse other horse got speed, you always gonna try to break and try to dominate the lead. But at the
Yeah.
same time, when you're doing that, you don't want to overforce your horse where he's like almost like running off, because if the other horse is doing the same and now you're fighting your horse so much, although you might see second, your horse still fighting you, stuff like that. So you have to like really connect with the horses, like letting him know, like if you're gonna send him to the league, you're gonna be able to bring him back if you can and stuff like that.
Yeah. What's the most nervous part of the race? Is it going in the starting gate? Is it turning for home? Is it the stretch? Like, what do you think the most, is there a part where, your heart's pumping the most?
I think it can change. I think it can change through the horses too, depending on what kind of horses you got, stuff like that. Sometimes it can be in the gate, sometimes it can be, like if you're coming off the pace or in the lead. I think that might be depend the races and the horses you got. What's
Yeah,
part of
because
what? Yeah,
I've seen you back sometimes really far, and if
yeah.
you push that button, they're going to go, and
You got
maybe You're nervous if you push
You're
that
nervous,
button, they're
yeah.
not going to go.
They're gonna go, yeah, exactly. Or if you push the button a little too early and you get to then too early, now your horse gets tired, stuff like that. It's a big trust, Even if you're in the lead, you gotta trust the horse, get that full feeling that he's breathing well. Even if he's going fast, he's breathing well, he's calm. And at the same time, when you like behind, getting dirt in the face, stuff like you gotta still feel the same. He's taking the dirt well in the face, he's calm, and like when you push a button, he's gonna go, and now you gotta have enough gas to get to them and go by them. So there's a lot of little stuff where not, like, move and not to move, who's next to you and who's in front.
Yeah, it's a rhythm. And
Yeah,
you've
like
gotten
although,
really good at it. That's where I think I've seen you really excel the last couple of years. Timing is all about the race, and you see these top jockeys have that timing, and you're really
yeah,
getting that timing down.
yeah, you have to, because even sometimes when you're like last, you know, you gotta see, who's next to you and who's in front, and kind of, feel like how fast they're going, or like, okay, they're going a little fast, maybe I'll wait a little longer. If they're going too slow, you're gonna have to go a little earlier. And when go by horse, who's in front of you, see if you can go in front of him and get a little bit of, a better spot and a better view, stuff like that. All of that rhythm can change your horse breathing and everything.
Well, the Wood Memorial is April 4th, and a lot of pressure, a lot of excitement. I can't wait for that, and it's a great opportunity for you and for Hugo and for the owner and Red Zone Runner. And anyway, go get those Kentucky Derby points, my man.
Yep.
Hey, we are ready. We are ready, excited, and really looking forward to, especially being at PA, so let's make it happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
make the Commonwealth proud of you, buddy. All right, that's going to do it for Gate to Wire. Mychel, thanks for joining us.
No, thank you guys for having me.